All right, I'm gonna try to pop all these out. Episode 2 is expanding universe. It's science fiction, pretty much along the lines of like any science fiction and fantasy elements, I guess. I don't really know how to describe this movie or compare it to another movie. But it starts in the 70s with a woman who plays violin named Lori, and she's like a brilliant musician, and it follows her path very quickly. It goes very quickly from her days in college, where she gets married and she starts her career in music, in the orchestra and whatever. And I set this in the 70s in Chicago or around Chicago. I don't know why I picked that as I needed a city that had a good winter time look. And it's not based on Laurie Spiegel, the musician, but it's nothing to do with her life or anything. But around the time I wrote this, I was listening to Laurie Spiegel's Expanding Universe and other verse albums. So it was a definite inspiration for this still. And so the story's kind of odd. It's hard to explain like this, but something happens to Laurie's life. I don't want to give away too much. And she ends up living by herself in an apartment from like her 40s all the way up to when we follow her into her 60s, late 60s. And she's lived as a recluse for like over 20 years because of a tragic incident that happened to her. And the story kind of begins there, really, but maybe page 20. We follow Lori all the way to that point in her life, from her 20s to her 60s. And now she's living as a complete hermit. She hardly speaks in the entire script, which is very odd. I've never done this before. Not that I've done this for that many times. I've only written like 15 screenplays. But Laurie's character has like almost no dialogue. So it's a weird role for like an actress. There'd be no dialogue whatsoever. Like there's maybe a couple of lines when she's young, but once she gets into her 60s, she like never talks. And she just hides in her apartment. She's kind of going a little loopy. And the story goes from there. It becomes more of a fantasy element now, and like even kind of a spiritual element. But I don't want to ruin all that stuff. If you like Edward Scissorhands and see, I don't even know another movie to compare it to really besides that one. It's kind of an odd story, and it would be very limited production cost. Like, half of the script is just Laurie in her apartment, and that's basically it. But there's maybe some CGI stuff because it is science fiction, and it deals with the universe, and I put some montages and stuff like that, and some dream sequences and hallucinations and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. It's probably the first or second screenplay I wrote when I was first forming this series. And I think it works on a lot of emotional levels. It might be the most like PG script I've written. This could be like a Hallmark movie, seriously. There's really no violence, no curse words at all, I don't think. Maybe I snuck in a couple curse words during some of like the hallucination scenes, maybe. I don't remember. But it's probably the most Hallmark movie I've ever, or a Hallmark script I've ever tried to write, because it's like a fairy tale almost. And I don't want to say anything else because I'll probably just ruin something if somebody ever ends up reading this. So yeah, that's about it.